Hello, nerds and nerdettes. Welcome back to the channel, where once again we have a new manga review for you guys. Today we are covering the Tokyo Revengers Omnibus, or 2-in-1. Before we get into that, a quick reminder that I am a Right Stuff affiliate. There will eventually be a cool animation, but if you guys would like to use my code to help support the channel, I will be extremely thankful for that. Also, if you are into comic books or omnibuses, I'm also sponsored by Organic Price Books, so you can use my code STAYNERDY for $2 off, or Stay Nerdy, ship it together to get 5% off 3 or more books. But without further ado, we can start the review itself. So this book, this 2-in-1, does have a $22.99 cover price and also a page count of 392 pages. This is a 2-in-1, like I keep referencing, so this does collect volumes 1 and 2 of Tokyo Revengers in one singular volume. But enough chit chat, let's go ahead and jump into the overhead shots, taking a look at the art and talking a little bit about the story. Here we are, Tokyo Revengers Volume 1, but technically it's Volume 1 and 2. This is a 2-in-1 or an omnibus, however you'd like to reference it. This is the Barnes & Noble exclusive cover. The standard I will put up here like I typically do, so you know kind of what the two volumes look like if you're trying to hunt it down. Taking a quick look at the spine, it is fairly simplistic. All of the volumes have a smaller image of the cover on the spine, and they do also have different colors on them as well. You have a brief synopsis on the back involving what the story is going to be about, or some of the characters you may see. It's a nice touch that they kind of blacked out some important characters or groups that will be appearing through the story. But let's go ahead and get into the volume. So we do have, one thing I also want to touch on. So volumes 1, 2, and 3 have a very odd texture to the cover. It almost kind of feels like a low grain sandpaper in a way. It's the best way I could describe it. It is a little annoying, but I've now since noticed that with volume 4, so the volume that collects 7 and 8, they have done away with that and just put a glossy cover. But now we can get into the volume. So we have the title page, which is the same as the cover. And then we get a little bit about the manji that the manji gang uses as their logo. This is very similar to Blade of the Immortal, talking about the correlation and connection to obviously the swastika and how they are, one, not the same even remotely, and two, that the swastika was actually stolen from Japanese culture and used obviously for not so great things, but this is actually meant to represent something different in Japan. And obviously, if you have Blade of the Immortal or this volume, you can read that, or you can pause and read it. That's fine too. You do get some colored pages as well in the beginning, colored glossy, and then some character studies of some very important characters. This character being Takamichi, which is our main character, and then this being the character of Naito, or Nato. Sure, my pronunciation is horrible there. And then you get right into the chapters that are collected. So a little bit about the story. This does follow the character of Takamichi, who is a young youth that is not exactly the best person. He had a little bit of a rough past, a rough upbringing, and you meet him in his young or early 20s, and he's honestly not any better. You eventually find out that for reasons that I will not reveal, he has been thrown in the past and pretty much forced to relive his junior high years, where he actually at the time was trying to become a member of the Manji gang, a gang member, and now him being thrusted into the past, back into those events, he has a different way to kind of look at it and interact with those people from the past. He eventually ends up meeting up with his junior high girlfriend, who is actually a character that very much is the focus of the story in a lot of ways, because the Takamichi that we meet in present day, that is in his early 20s, watches the news and finds out that his junior high girlfriend has died due to the Manji gang's actions. So when he actually goes back in time, some unresolved feelings are rehashed, and he decides that he would like to save the life of his junior high girlfriend. There is also an involvement with that character, his junior high girlfriend's brother as well, who is the character that I referenced in the beginning, Nato. He has some involvement in the story as well, not only being the brother of the woman that Takamichi is trying to save, but also eventually we find out that he is also the trigger that sends Takamichi into the past. So you have a lot of relationships and characters and co-characters, supporting characters that all play a huge role, not only in the timeline that you're spending the most time in, which is during the past, but also in the present day. You eventually meet characters like Mikey, who is the leader of the Manji gang, and his best friend or second in command, Draken, and they are very pivotal characters as well in the past timeline. So the way that I kind of describe this storyline is very similar to that of the Butterfly Effect. I'm not sure if you guys have seen that movie. It's not a very popular movie, but you do have Takamichi doing similar to what Ashton Kutcher's character does in that movie, which is going back in time, trying to fix things, coming back to present time, and seeing how his actions, his involvement has changed the future or the present day. So it's very, very interesting. There's a lot of mysteries as well involving the Manji gang and the character of Mikey and how they got involved with Hina, his junior high girlfriend, and how exactly her death came to be. You also have some deeper involvement involving Naito and why he has so much at stake, not only because it involves his sister, but there's also a different aspect to his character that Takamichi directly influenced in the past, and it came to happen in the future. So it's a very interesting story, but it is one that you do need to kind of remember events as they happen moving forward, and it's not a brainless read by any means. As far as the two storylines, past and present, commingling, I at no point was really confused, and I don't like to think of myself as a very intelligent reader, let alone person in general. So I do believe that in general, I think most people can probably follow both plots and both storylines that are happening simultaneously, because the mangaka does great at kind of making everything make sense and going at a slower pace with certain aspects as well. This story does have a lot of heart and passion in it as well, involving action, fight scenes, mystery elements, as well as even relationships, and you can tell there's a lot of care put into every one of those aspects and every one of those characters that those genres or those things kind of involve, and that is probably the biggest highlight of this story, is that you can very much feel just the effort and love and passion for this story from the creator while you read, and I think that is always something worth talking about and taking note of, because it really, really just bounces off of the pages. Now, getting to the end of the book, we do have the Manji sign. We have some covers here. And then on the back, because it's the Barnes & Noble exclusive, we do have a poster print here, one involving Mikey and Draken, and then the other with Takamichi on it. So that's really all you're getting for the Barnes & Noble exclusive But that does wrap up the volume, so let's head back to the table for some closing thoughts. And welcome back, nerds and nerdettes. So this is my first time diving into the Tokyo Revengers story, and I very much enjoyed my experience with it, even though this is only the first 2 volumes. You do have 2 plots, one involving a street gang and childhood friends, and kind of a coming of age story even with some action elements. And then you also have a little bit of a mysterious slash thriller time jumping storyline as well. And they both are going on simultaneously, but at no point do you feel confused. They both kind of happen at the same time and commingle, and it's very easy to follow and understand. So hats off to Ken Wakui, or Wakui. I don't know how to pronounce that, so correct me down below. I did learn that the mangaka Ken Wakui is a ex-gang member himself, so this story feels like it has so much emotion and so much meaning to the creator, and little did I know that it actually did. It does kind of resemble a lot of his actual youth, his actual life that took place, and you can definitely feel it while reading. This book is also a little special to me as well because I happen to identify with the book in general as well. A lot of character traits that kind of follow Takamichi, the main character, as well as his friends and people that he ends up becoming close with. It somewhat mirrors certain aspects of my life, so it allowed me to identify with that character that much more. So it did impact me probably more than maybe some other people, but I very much love stories that do kind of have not only a personal touch from the creator, but a personal touch to the person that ends up reading the book itself. So, double thumbs up for that. As far as the art goes, it's beautiful. I don't think it's ultra realistic. You're not going to be looking at anything from, for example, Vagabond. I also don't think it's kind of your traditional manga kind of look that you maybe see from something like Berserk or Vinland Saga. It kind of has a little bit more of a cartoony vibe despite its more serious undertone of a story. Almost kind of resembling that of maybe even One Piece, big eyes, big expressions. And I honestly like the play between it being such a serious story and the characters and the way they're personified and drawn and their expressions being so cartoonish in a way. I think it's a very interesting play between the two. Um, Honestly, I very much enjoyed the first 2 volumes, even though this is 1 volume, like I said, 2 in 1. I'm definitely planning on continuing my reading experience and collecting this. I do know that this collects a lot of volumes, or it's going to be a lot of volumes in order to collect the entire series, so I'm a little hesitant because of that. But I very much enjoyed the story, so I gotta keep chugging along and find space, I guess. As far as the build of the book, I think this, even though this is a 2 in 1, and some people don't like 2 in 1s, I don't think it's extremely thick. I didn't find an issue with spread pages. I didn't find an issue with the spine cracking or anything along those lines. The Barnes & Noble exclusive volume literally added nothing other than I think a print in there that obviously I'm not going to remove and a different cover, but doesn't seem worth it. So I know at one point there was astronomical prices for the exclusive cover. Don't bite, just get the first volume. It's same thing at the end of the day. But super awesome volume, super awesome series. I'm happy I'm finally diving in. But overall, for this volume 1 that contains volumes 1 and 2 of Tokyo Revengers, I am going to give it a 7.9 out of 10. I think you can 100% tell that things are just ramping up. Really, the story's just starting to move quicker into a more tense situation. So I can definitely guess and maybe assume that's going to get better from here. But for a first volume, or my first time diving into the story, that's pretty damn good, and I'm happy with my reading experience. And that does wrap up today's review. Yet another manga review for my manga lovers. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I know Tokyo Revengers at one point was on top of the world as far as manga goes, or ongoing manga series along with Jujutsu Kaisen and things like that. So I am very curious where our community kind of stands with this series, and if it's something that is still tickling your fancy as a reader, or is it something that you finally dropped? I have heard that after the midway point, it drops off a little bit. Obviously, I'm nowhere near that point, so I'm not super worried about that, but still, it's very interesting to hear that, and I'm very interested to get to that point and see if I agree or not. But other than that, if you're not a part of the Illuminati, hit that subscribe button. Also, if you could do me a favor and hit that thumbs up icon. And if you enjoyed today's video, hit that bell icon. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video once again. I'm going to keep pumping out manga plus comic content since you guys seem to enjoy it, as well as our kind of typical monthly content as well. But thank you for watching, and of course, as always, stay nerdy.